The Chiefs left tackle battle is the single most important positional battle in the NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to know why? Because it's the freaking Chiefs. Everything they do is more important just because of who they are. This team won 15 games and made another Super Bowl with a revolving door at left tackle last year. Wanye Morris, Kingsley Suamataia, DJ Humphries, and then even Joe Thuney. They threw him at left tackle as well, and none of it worked. And if you watch the Super Bowl, you would know that it didn't work whatsoever. So we saw Patrick Mahomes getting absolutely smoked. The Chiefs had no chance against that D-line in Philly. And the Chiefs front office also saw that and said, this sucks. We need to fix it. And they were super aggressive in doing it this offseason. It started in free agency as they signed former Niners tackle Jalen Moore to a 2-year, $30 million deal. Moore was Trent Williams' backup, a swing tackle, and an extra lineman in San Francisco who performed well when called upon. He was graded 25th of 140 tackles per PFF with a 74.9 overall grade, even though it was just in 271 total snaps last year. Plus, being able to learn from Trent Williams, one of the offensive lineman GOATs, is an extremely valuable experience. So Jalen Moore is going to compete for that left tackle spot, but they did not stop there in Kansas City, adding Josh Simmons, the left tackle from Ohio State, with the 31st pick in the first round. And Simmons is someone who many had as the best left tackle in the country prior to tearing his patella tendon and missing the entire 2020 or most of the entire 2024 season for the Buckeyes. However, when he was playing for Ohio State last year in 158 pass rush snaps, 0 quarterback hits, 0 sacks, and 1 pressure allowed. So Josh Simmons is an absolute stud and was just announced by Andy Reid that he's going to be a full go at training camp, even though he is coming off that torn patella tendon. So if he can be the type of player that he was projected to be pre-injury at Ohio State, I'm not sure this Chiefs team has a weakness this year. So if Simmons is healthy, he's going to win that left tackle job, and we are going to have to deal with a Chiefs team that's going to be strong again on the interior offensive line, even still trading Joe Thuney this offseason, a wide receiver core that's going to be healthy, with Rashee Rice also being a full go going into training camp, coming off his knee injury as well, Isaiah Pacheco coming in 100% as well. This team is ready to compete and make yet another run at a championship. And while this left tackle position battle is going to be massive, I think the Chiefs have solved this issue with Simmons, and he is going to win that battle over Moore, and the Chiefs are going to be dangerous once again. But I'm going to kick it to these guys to see what they have to say about this Chiefs positional battle on the offensive line, and I'm going to kick it to Joe to see what his positional battle is as well.
So, it's funny, right? Like, every time we talk about the Chiefs, we're always talking about how things just fall in their lap, right? Oh, how did we let that guy fall there? How did he get to the Chiefs at 31, 32? How did they every year? And yet again, because of an injury, possibly the best left tackle in the draft goes to the team that needs the left tackle the most and happens to be one of the weakest spots on a team that just made the Super Bowl. And I believe had 1 loss in the regular season. People,
yeah, they had the one in week 18, but they sat everybody. So yeah, basically.
So does it count? Does it really matter? Let's be fair. I don't understand how this keeps happening, but you're right. For a team that made the Super Bowl, this is a glaring need, and it's a battle that you have to watch. It's why we're talking about it. It's why everyone else should be talking about it. It's why everyone in Kansas City right now is talking about the health of Josh Simmons and if he can fit into this offensive line that desperately needs it, because Joe Thuney is not there anymore. He left, right? And even then, like you said, it didn't work with him there anyway. So, you're literally grasping at straws. Josh Simmons has to be the answer here, and I think that, his availability for training camp is a massive swing for how this is going to play out for them. But you're right. I want to talk about my position group battle, and my position group battle is because of a team that has been projected, anticipated, talked about as winning not 8, not 9, but 10, 11, and in some circles even 12 games this coming year after going 4 and 13 the previous year. The New England Patriots, who have 12 wide receivers on the roster. But you know how many roster locks they got right now, people? They got 2. They got Stephon Diggs and Kyle Williams. There are no other roster locks on this roster, and let me tell you why. Everyone who's sitting here is going, well, what about Demario Douglas? Demario Douglas is not even the best slot receiver in his division. Okay? He's they ranked him right now, and they showed Demario Douglas is one of only, I think, I forget how many players it is here. Let me look it for it. Who played 50% of the or more snaps in the slot, who had 60 or more receptions in 17 games. He is one of 3 wide receivers to not get over 700 yards to do that. All right? He's one of the worst slot receivers in the league. And we're acting like he's a guaranteed roster selection. He's not. Then you look at Kendrick Bourne. He's veteran. Not a roster lock. In fact, a lot of people think because of his contract, he get cut or traded. Everyone's like, Mac Hollins signed a 2-year deal with guaranteed money. $3.5 million guaranteed in the NFL when the salary cap is like 200 and some odd thousand or $1 million is pennies. They can cut him, and he's an outlier. There are only 2 wide receivers in this room who are over 6'2". Mac Hollins and John Giles. Neither of them are roster locks because they don't meet the prototypical format of everyone else on the roster who can go in, who can play inside and out. They are purely boundary receivers, which limits their capability. They're not roster locks to me. They have to fight for the position. So realistically, 6 wide receivers will be kept. 2 are roster locks, right? And if you get rid of Jeremiah Webb, you get rid of Demir Lekumsky, you get rid of John Giles, that leaves you Demario Douglas, Efton Chisholm III, Kyle Williams, all competing with Kayshon Boutte. And I already said Kyle Williams is a lock for possibly the slot because Kyle Williams, I don't know if his stature is big enough to stick as an X receiver where he played most of his snaps against off coverage in Washington State in the Pac-12. So you maybe have to kick him inside, which means Stephon Diggs, who is about the same size as Kyle Williams, who plays predominantly on the outside, but did play 50% of his snaps in the slot last year before going down with an injury, is now sitting there where he can be moved around. So Efton Chisholm III is competing and has gotten rave reviews with Demario Douglas. And then you have Javon Baker and Jalen Polk, who were top draft picks last year. Okay? All of this to say, how this battle shakes out is going to directly impact the Patriots' success. Because if they don't keep the right people, or they have to make tough decisions and they make the wrong decision, the weakness of this team is still the wide receiver core. If they cut Javon Baker because they think that Jalen Polk, they invested more in him, but that's how they have to do it, and Polk flounders and Baker goes somewhere and succeeds, that looks bad on the Patriots. Not to mention, it could cost them wins. It could cost them wins. And on a team that is desperately trying to find its identity, you can't have that. Now, I went ahead and I looked at all of the slot wide receivers who play 50% or more of the snaps in the slot, like Pop Douglas did. And I want you guys to pick who you would take before them, all right? First one, Josh Downs played 14 games, outdid Demario Douglas in yards, touchdowns, and receptions. Would you take Josh Downs over Pop Douglas?
Yes.
Would you take Jackson Smith and Jigba over Pop
Douglas?
Yes. Jaden Reed over Pop Douglas?
Yes.
Adam Thielen, who played 10 games?
Yes.
Lad McConkey?
Yes.
Khalil Shakir?
Yes.
Yes.
Cooper Kupp?
Yes.
Yes.
Chris Godwin?
Yes.
Yes.
Devonta Smith?
Yes.
Yes.
Not fair.
Keenan Allen?
Yes.
Yes.
Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Wait, hold on. Wait, what are we? Wait, time out. What are we
Yes.
doing? Like we're comparing. Like these are some great wide receivers that you're naming right now.
These are all the wide receivers that Pop Douglas, from percentage of snaps played in the slot and receptions of at least 60 receptions in the NFL. These are the competition he's going with, and every single one of them is better than him. He's not.
But a full season of Drake May should change that. That should change 1,000% because Drake May is going to be a full year with a good coach and a better offensive line. So,
Joe, I'm just saying, Demario Douglas he's never been that guy. All right, he's been 600 yard guy the entire time.
Joe, I have a question. You said 6 wide receivers are going to be kept, and I agree with that. Who are your 6? What 6 wide receivers are the Patriots keeping?
So I have Kendrick Bourne as a cut or trade. I have John Giles as a cut. I have Jeremiah Webb as a cut. I have Lekumsky as a cut. I have Demario Douglas as a cut.
Wow.
Or trade. And the only way he wins out is if we get. I'm keeping probably Jalen Polk and Javon Baker because they can play outside, inside. Demario Douglas is purely a slot. He does not play outside. He played 86% of his snaps inside. He's only 5'8". He does not have the physical stature to play on the outside.
That's the only change I had from you. I think Chisholm's going to make it. There's too much smoke about Chisholm being good. I think Chisholm's going to be on. Stephon Diggs. I had Douglas on there, then Mac Hollins, and I had Javon Baker getting cut, and then I had Polk and who's the other one? Kyle Williams, obviously. So yeah.
Mac Hollins is my wild card. I think Mac Hollins could make it.
Jeez.
But I think that means that Polk or Baker are gone.
I think I'm a little bit more sure of Mac Hollins than you are, Joe. I think Mac Hollins is going to be on the roster just because they signed him to a multi-year deal. It was some guaranteed money, and like you said, he's the only size. So like you got to have
John Giles,
you got to at least have that option. You can't go into a season not having that option. I think they want that option. I think they like him as far as a locker room and leadership goes as well. But yeah, like you mentioned, Joe, this is going to be a very, very interesting situation here in New England as far as the wide receivers go.
Conversation. I don't like it.
Kris, I'm kicking it to you. Give me your thoughts, your extra thoughts on this Patriots wide receiver talk, and then give us a positional battle that you're looking forward to here in training camp.
I am not going to sit here and allow you to dog my boy like that, okay? Pop,
I'm just saying,
if
there are
I'm
6 guys competing for that spot.
I get it. However, Pop had a very good first season. If no one seems to remember, I am pretty sure he broke a record, if I'm not mistaken. So he had a decent first. Give the man a chance. Nobody was anything worth a damn last year because they were a dumpster fire. We know this. That year just doesn't count. Okay, for me, it doesn't count. It was a learning year. That's it. So now you get to pivot. Okay, give the man a chance. Y'all gonna stop dogging my boy like that. All right. So I agree with everything outside of Pop Douglas. I think Pop Douglas makes it. I think he shows you completely wrong this year. I am hoping for it. And now I'm buying his damn jersey. Okay, Joe? Fuck you. Anyways, moving on. So for me, I'm going with, and yes, it's an easy answer. Okay. It's an easy answer. Everybody probably already knows. So I'm not going to go into like a whole long statistical overview of what actual battle I'm looking at, and it's going to be the Cleveland Browns QBs. It has to be because they have 5 of them, right? So who the fuck is getting the spots, and what battles do you actually, in my opinion, that you actually want to see? These are the ones that I am looking at because they have a ton. So this is what I look at. Obviously you have Joe Flacco, right? To me, he is on the wrong side of 40. When you start looking into Joe Flacco, he hasn't actually played a full game, I believe, until it was 2018 was the last time he played actual full season. Every other team, he hasn't played a full season since then. So he's played a total of 9 games in 2018, 8 games in 2019, 5 games in 2020, 2 games in 2021, 5 games in 2022, 5 games in 2023, which, yes, he brought them to the playoffs. Good for them. They didn't do shit with it, but he brought them there. And then 8 games last year, right? So he hasn't played a full game in a very long time. That is your QB1. That's at least what he's set up to be, right?
Very nice.
So, right. Starting strong.
He's well rested.
Yeah, very, very well rested, right? And then also is the same guy who has already come out publicly and made it very obvious he is not interested in the mentor role. He's not interested in it. He doesn't want anything to do with it. They listen to me, great, but I'm not going to force him to. So he's not trying to mentor these 2 rookie quarterbacks. That is not in his interest whatsoever. So now you go to the next, I would say underdog, the next vet, you can call him that, and Kenny Pickett, right? Let's go over his stats real quick.
What he's worth is a penny. You're not right.
Saw that. I had that joke. I had that joke in my back pocket, and Joe just took it right there. All right, man.
There you go. So look, you scrolled
No,
two
you
of
didn't,
us.
Sammy. No, you didn't. You gaslighting us.
Yo, yes, I did. I had it, but Joe is just quicker with it, man. He just is, man.
It's that military quip, bro. You gotta have that military quip.
So you talk about Kenny Pickett, right? So he's a total. I'm just going to keep saying this word because it's horrendous, and I don't really see him being a viable option in any degree. He's played a total in 3 years of 30 games. He played 13 in 2022, 12 in 2023, 5 last year. He has a completion rate of 471 out of 755 attempts. He has a total of 4,765 yards. How many of these fucking QBs are making that in a year? That's in 3 years. He has a total yards per game percentage out of all 3 years of 158 yards. Oh, let me get the 0.8. Don't want to leave him out with the 0.8. So 158.8% is how much he's throwing per game. That's it. That's all you're getting from him. He has a total of, in 3 years, okay, 3 seasons, 15 touchdowns and 14 fucking picks. Okay? He's not a QB1 viable option. Facts. He's not a QB1 option. He's just not. Quite honestly, and this is where I'm leading to as far as what battle I'm looking for, is I don't even think he's a QB2 option. To be quite honest, I don't think he makes the cut, period. That's it. Argue with the Rock. Moving on. So what I'm actually looking forward to is the rookie battle. That's what I am looking at. And the reason behind is, one, yes, there's a lot of hype behind it because it depends on who's like Instagrams or TikToks that you're following that is going to tell you who is overhyping who, right? Who is better than who? It depends on who you're listening to, because there are some who says that Dylan Gabriel is knocking it out of the park. There are others that saying that obviously Shedeur Sanders has the liking of the entire room and they're all behind him. Like it's so many different factors that run into this that's what I am looking for. And honestly, the most specific thing I am looking for is I am looking to look at them when it comes to the actual like pre-games, right? Like actually looking at what they're doing during those time periods and how many snaps they're actually playing when we get to that point in the training camp, when they start actually playing those live games and who's actually starting, who's going second. I don't really think you're going to see Joe Flacco really play any of the pre-games at all. So that's what I'm looking at. That's one of the battles I'm looking for, because I want to see if either one of these players actually show up and show out enough to, one, take the QB2 spot, because I think that is wide open, and potentially if Joe Flacco gets hurt, or maybe he just doesn't look well during training camp, are they taking that number one spot? So I'm looking at preseason. That's really where I'm focused on when it comes to camp battles, is their preseason games, because out of those 3 games, that's going to tell you, one, who has the viable QB2 spot locked up and who is also vying for that QB1 spot 100%. So I don't care what anybody says. I get it. Yes, they traded for Kenny Pickett. Fantastic. Argue with the Rock. I don't even think he makes the team.
No, I don't think so either. I think we talked about it in a previous video. I think Kenny Pickett's a great backup quarterback trade candidate for one of these other teams that doesn't have a backup quarterback. I think he's going to get traded in the preseason at some point, maybe week 3, week 4, the preseason, and they're going to just rock with these other guys because, Kenny, he just doesn't fit. He just doesn't fit. Yeah, like you were talking about, Kris. He doesn't fit the timeline. He doesn't fit the mentorship role. He's just not that talented of a quarterback either. Anything. So it's like, it's really no purpose for him being there. No shot. I'd say no shots at no shade at Kenny Pickett while I'm shitting on Kenny Pickett. But again, he's just not harsh, really fit to be a for the Browns quarterback situation right now. He's just not. So it's just not going to work in Cleveland. And I think they're going to have to move on from him. But it's going to be interesting that, like you mentioned, that Cleveland situation, specifically because we've seen in recent days, apparently Shedeur Sanders has been going very fast on roads across the Midwest as of late. So hopefully he can slow down a little bit. But
maturity problems with
him. Yeah, for real. So I'm not gonna act like I'm above Shedeur Sanders. Like if I'm mid-20s right now, but if I'm early 20s, I just get a bunch of, I'm super rich, I got all these nice cars, I'm going to be driving. I still drive fast. I'm going to drive fast down places. But again, as a professional athlete, you have to be a little bit more responsible and kind of understand your surroundings a little bit better, especially because apparently he's gotten pulled over multiple times for going really, really fast now. So yeah, drive the speed limit, Shedeur. Good Lord. But Sammy, I'm going to kick it to you, man. What do you think about all these positional battles, and which one is the one that you're going to be watching here in this offseason?
What I find funny about the Browns situation is that, it's not quite, I understand it's a bad situation, but what if I told you that there's another situation that it might be a bit worse? And I'm talking about the New Orleans Saints. Now, the New Orleans Saints have a very, very interesting predicament, okay? Derek Carr retires, right? He retires. And the Saints are like, all right, we need a quarterback. And it's the first round, and they're like, we don't like Shedeur. We don't like Shedeur. The second round comes. We don't like Shedeur. Oh, who's this Louisville kid? No, let's go ahead and draft him. Let's draft this guy, Tyler Shough. Shout out to Matt, because he called that NFL teams would be interested in this cat, and they ended up picking the Saints. No, of all the teams, the Saints ended up picking him. Shout out to the Saints, man. Relying on Tyler Shough. Now, with that being said, I understand, you have to draft a QB. You have to, because your QB room is, at the time, Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler. Okay, so clearly you want to, draft a QB to try to make ends meet.
They still had Derek Carr at the time.
We don't talk about him anymore because he's retired. He's off to Punta Cana to do whatever he wants to do. Let him enjoy his life. You know, he had a great career. God bless him. I'm sure he's going to be very, very upset in his $1 million mention. Yeah, for sure. Now let's talk about Spencer Rattler for a second. Spencer Rattler started 6 games, right? And in those 6 games, he had a 57% completion percentage. He had 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 188 yards per game, and a 70.4 passer rating. Okay, so the Saints have a problem. So they have to pick between that guy and Tyler Shough, who had battled many injuries, finally got it together in Louisville. Finally, and I'm talking about finally. Only for him to really go into a situation like the Saints that isn't even a good situation to begin with, right? Because you got Chris Olave, who is injury prone. He always gets concussions. Hopefully he's okay this year and is fully healthy. But outside of Chris Olave, you don't really have a lot of wide receivers that you can really rely upon, right? You also have Alvin Kamara, who's fighting his own demons, I suppose, and we don't know if he's going to be in New Orleans. Really, I don't really know what else to say other than this is hands down going to be one of the more interesting QB battles that nobody's going to care about because it's the damn Saints. And at this point, we've come to conclusion that the Saints are just going to be bad this year because they decided to draft Tyler Shough, and maybe Spencer Rattler takes a leap that because apparently people within the organization actually are fans of Spencer Rattler. They're like, you see what happened in South Carolina? He went to South Carolina after a year. He got better. And that's true. That's very true. Only problem, this isn't college, okay? This is the NFL, right? So I don't understand exactly how. I hope Spencer Rattler turns it around. I would hope. I'm rooting for the guy. I'm rooting for Tyler Shough. I'm rooting for all these guys to get it together. But with that being said, the Saints QB battle to me is interesting because this year feels like a lost year because if it's bad, do you draft another QB next year? This year, we're going to find out if hopefully the Saints prove everybody wrong and show that, you know what, we drafted the right guy. Tyler Shough, the 25-year-old young blood, is about to go into the NFC South and just completely dominate it. Look, man, it's going to be a very odd QB battle, but it's something intriguing about QB battles that are very, very peculiar that I'm going to be paying attention to. We have the Browns and we have the Saints. Of course, the one that's getting more clout is the Browns because they have the primetime family tree over there. So that's going to be fun.
I think Sammy missed the point of this segment, which was we were supposed to talk about camp battles we were excited about. And he's literally like, it's going to be the greatest battle that no one gives a shit about.
Hey, look, man. Unlike, I know the people of New Orleans are hoping and praying to find the next Drew Brees. It could be Spencer Rattler. It could be Tyler Shough. It could be any of these guys. And you know what? I think Saints fans want to find out this year at this training camp and this preseason, this year. They want to find out if they got one of them ones. You know what I mean? Will it happen? To me, maybe not. But it's very interesting to see. It's very interesting in my opinion.
Maybe not.
Just remember, they didn't draft Drew Brees, okay? They got Drew Brees from the Chargers.
Yeah, but that's New Orleans' baby. Okay, that's New Orleans' baby. We all know it. That's Nola's baby. Okay, it's nobody else's.
I mean, I think Sammy. I mean, as a good one that you picked. I mean, these are. It's going to be an interesting battle. I mean, both the guys have talent. I like how both the guys can spin the ball. They both got talent. They both can move around a little bit. I just don't know if either of them are the answer for New Orleans Saints quarterback for the New Orleans Saints quarterback of the future. And the Saints haven't picked a quarterback in the first round of the draft since they picked Archie Manning back in the 70s. So again, it's been 50 years basically. So since they picked a quarterback in the first round, and I believe we may be seeing that here in the future for the New Orleans Saints.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.